college and university faculty. Mr. Chairman, governors, Chancellor Whitney, university presidents, we generally don't like to get up here, and my members don't even like for me to get up here and talk about our salaries or contract stuff and to get into the nitty-gritty of what's contained therein. But given what's occurred over the last few weeks, the comments that are being made in public, conversations that we know that have taken place between university officials and legislators and the rest, we feel compelled to speak about it, and I feel compelled to speak about it. It seems that there's information being distributed in various different ways by employees of the system, university presidents, some university presidents, and others, including members of councils of trustees and others, which are really just spreading false and inaccurate information about the faculty CBA. To be clear, at the conclusion of the job action that took place, the faculty returned to the universities without the same kind of salary package that was given to other employees in the state and even given to the managers in this system. If you look at salaries over a 10-year period and you adjust for inflation, the truth of the matter, if you bother to look at it, is that when it comes to full professors, associate professors, and assistant professors, those salaries are flat if you adjust for inflation. If you look at adjunct professors, again, adjusting for inflation, actually adjunct faculties have gone down as far as their salaries go. The truth of the matter is that it never gets reported to anyone that when it comes to healthcare costs, 2 years ago, Highmark returned $9 million to the system out of what was projected costs for faculty healthcare. Last year, $10 million was returned to the system out of those costs. And this year we understand that the healthcare costs are going significantly down. That is not ever discussed. It's not discussed in public, it's not discussed with our public officials as far as what the actual costs of the contract are. Projections are made about costs, and it doesn't get told that, in fact, that those projections about the cost of contracts are made on a static workforce that does not take into account the fact that there are retirements, separations, and the rest. The numbers get inflated. It's not ever talked about the fact that the faculty, as well as other employees in this system, pay 18% or 28% of their health care costs. That's far more than any legislator pays for their costs. And then again, returning back from the job action, our faculty took on deductibles and other payments that were, again, unheard of for legislators to pay. And the system, when they pay the cost of the health care, only pays at 95% of the cost. So when the money is returned to the system, that $9 million and $10 million, it's already on a discounted rate that never goes back to the faculty. That's true of our coaches too. And that money gets returned to the system, and again, there's no accounting for it, there's no explanation of it. Numbers just get posted up without any kind of explanation. We hear lots of comments about the faculty contract, some of which are just absolutely absurd, never put into context of higher education and what demands are. We hear this talk about how faculty have 4-4 loads as if that is minimal amount, but if you go do any research at all about higher education, you'll see that a 4-4 load is considered a ridiculously high load, and that it's mostly expected that if you're teaching a 4-4 load in higher education, that it is a teaching position without research requirements. But that is not the case in the state system. Every day, the faculty in the state system not only teach their 4-4 loads, and in many cases go beyond that, but they do conduct research that's meaningful and put out there. But we don't even hear about that from the system. It's not put out by the system. It's not publicized by the system, what is going on with our faculty in terms of research, and also the work that is done with students on a daily basis. Now, with all the finger pointing at the faculty, I have to tell you that over the last few weeks, I plan to come in here today and call out the system, call out presidents for the decisions that have been made on our campuses that we think were poor decisions and which cost the universities money. Mistakes that were made by the board, mistakes that were made by councils of trustees. But at some point, enough is enough. I don't understand, when will we learn, collectively learn, that we do no good for our students. We do no good for our universities if we are beating each other up. If university presidents go in and complain to individual legislators, and their focus is not on the good things that are done for our universities, but are instead filled with complaints about the faculty and contracts, then you are taking away from what is important and what is happening on our campuses every single day. Enough is enough. Stop it. We need to collectively be on the same page. We need to be focusing on the positives that occur every single day on our campuses. The research that is done by our faculty, the amazing achievements of our students, the accomplishments of our coaches, the great record of our student athletes. That's what we need to be focused on. Going to the legislature and complaining only buys you a gubernatorial candidate who says that they want to privatize our universities or close them down. At some point, we have to get the message. The community colleges apparently got the message. They go in and they brag about all their accomplishments to the legislature. The privates are all on the same page with, pithy statements and colorful brochures that they hand out to the legislatures. But there's an attitude adjustment that needs to occur from everyone in this system. We need leadership from the Dixon Center that puts out things that everybody should stick to in their communications with the legislature. And there needs to be some understanding that if you're going to the legislature and you're bashing your employees, or even if you're going to the legislature and you're picking and pointing your fingers at other universities and saying that they're struggling and that they're a drag on your university, that you are not helping anything. You are part of the problem. Now, I appreciate I've had opportunities to speak to Chancellor Whitney and to others on the board about things, but we have a serious issue on our hand. And unless we fix that, what we're going to be confronting in the near future is a RAND study, which we already know is biased from the very start to suggest closing down our universities and going further after your faculty. Enough is enough. Please stop. Let's try and work together to promote the excellent things that happen on our campuses and to identify what is the true problem in our system. And the true problem with our system is the problem that was identified by the U.S. News and World Report when they ranked Pennsylvania 50th in the country when it came to higher education. And that wasn't about the quality of education that's applied by our universities or the community colleges or the state-related universities. That was purely about the cost and the debt burden that's placed on our students. And there's that debt burden from our universities because we do not get properly funded by the legislature. 47th out of 50 states when it comes to per capita funding. That is the issue. They are starving us. And those people who mean us harm are not going to be convinced by us pointing fingers at each other. We need to find people who are going to be supportive of us. We need to make the case that we are doing a great job together. We're not going to succeed or be able to achieve under the conditions where the legislature does not properly fund our universities. That's the message that we need to be bringing to them. Great things are happening at our universities, from Cheney to Westchester to East Stroudsburg to Edinburgh University. That needs to be the focus. Now, I apologize that I'm going to leave, but I'm going to Westchester University, where we're going to put together, we're going to be working on a rally for the Pennsylvania Promise. And I know that at this point it's a long shot. But I know that also, unless people start talking about affordability and start talking about the burden that's placed on our students, that our students suffer, and not only do our students suffer, but this Commonwealth suffers, working families suffer, and the future of the Commonwealth is at stake because we are not going to be able to have the educated population that's going to be needed to attract employers for the 21st century, and also, as all the data says too, that people live a happier life when they have a college degree. So I hope that the future is one of us not beating up on each other, not making snide comments to those who are doing studies and the rest, but rather all of us working together to increase the funding for our great universities. Thank you very much.